Hello again, YouTube. Easy Jeezy here. The guy I borrowed these carburetors from has been hounding me wants them back, so I got to wrap this up real quick here. And again, I wanted to do the comparison between the Weber and the Dellorto carburetor, and we're going to look again real quick, do a quick overview, and maybe cover some things that we missed. And I don't think we really did highlight the Dellorto, very similar to the Weber. So let me grab a screwdriver for a pointer here. Okay, before we even do that, I think it's really important to make sure that you understand when you're purchasing a carburetor what carburetor to purchase, why, and how to size it. So what you're going to do, and I don't know if this is kosher, this is the written by Bob Tomlinson, excellent reference book. And I don't know if I've got this, let me see here, get in the back here. I don't know how that's going to come out as far as detail. You can hit the pause button and look at it all as long as you want. But you're going to take this overall size of your engine. Say it's a 2-liter, that's 2,000 cc's. You're going to divide that by the number of cylinders in the engine. So with a Volkswagen, that's going to be 500 cc's. You're going to go to the chart, find the single cylinder capacity on the bottom line. In this case, we're going to say 500 cc's. Then we're going to follow that up, and we're going to say, okay, what RPM is a maximum RPM that we're going to be driving that thing? And really this is irrelevant, because in first and second gear you can get valve float before you'll run out of carburetor. But this is a guideline, and stay open-minded on it. But let's just say we're going to go 500, and that our maximum RPM is going to be around 5,000 RPM. Okay, I put a stock cam in that 2-liter, so let's say a 34 millimeter Venturi. Okay, what I would then do, and this is going to be similar, whether it's Dellorto or Weber, that rule is going to stay the same. So now, if I was trying to get by, I would come and I'd look over here at the Carburetor Choices. And the Carburetor Choices, you see, they do make a dual 40 DRLA carburetor that comes from the factory, or did, with a 34 millimeter Venturi, a 180 main air correction jet, a 140 main jet, a 60 idle jet, and a 35 accelerator pump. Okay, so if you were to purchase that carburetor, and I think it would be the same with the Weber, you know, you check to see which size Venturi it comes with, and that's going to let you be a guideline, and then you won't have to purchase stuff. And most of the time, in my case, out of the box, if you size it that way for off-road use and for city driving, bolt them on out of the box, you're good to go. And you don't even have to change the jets. Just keep the doggone thing clean and keep it tuned. Because, like we talked about earlier video, you can change some of the accelerator pump squirt, I'll just use that word, the volume of fuel from your squirt with the stroke on the accelerator pump. And on the Dellorto, which is right here, it's in the same spot. It's underneath the accelerator pump on the linkage. Now, I want to show you a couple other things here. Kind of recapping, but bear with me. Okay, and on an earlier video, I think I mistakenly said that the average starting turnout for a Weber was 1/2 to 3/4. Actually, that should have been 1.5 to 1 3/4. And you'll note, I hope you'll note, how the size of that taper on that needle. Okay, on a Dellorto, it's 3.5 turns out. And you're going to see why here in just a second. 3.5 turns out. Little different shape needle. Now the parts are not, obviously from looking, interchangeable between the two brands of carburetors, but you'll see that the Dellorto has a longer needle, so it gives you a little bit more margin for error, I want to say, because you have to turn it more strokes to get the fuel mixture to change. It gives you a little bit more feel when you've got your hand on the screwdriver, and as you're turning it back and forth, I think it just helps me to tune it better. My preference for carburetors is the Dellorto, and one of the reasons why is because on the Weber, and I'm telling you this again, sorry to repeat myself, 90% of the time your snapping and popping and bad running motor is caused by a clogged idle jet. And the idle jet is located up here on the side on the end of this jet holder, and it's got a smaller hole on the Weber than it does on the Dellorto. Just the way they designed it. 60 on the Dellorto, 50 on the Weber. That's for that size carburetor. Okay, now you see where I pulled that out on the Weber, it was on the side. If that's in a sedan, it's right up against the sheet metal. I just don't see how you could do it. I just don't see how you could do it unless you cut out the back of the fender well and have access to it. On the Dellorto, the advantage is that idle jet, you can access it from the top. And generally what I do is carry in the car what I call a split tail screwdriver or a starter screwdriver. It allows you to pick up the jet, just like I'm going to do right now. Even with it on the bench, it's hard for me to get a hold of that thing without using a pair of needle nose or something to get it up and out. And I got it out enough. So, okay, look at the jet stacks here. You got the Dellorto one here and the Weber one here. And the hole is a little bit bigger. It just doesn't get clogged as easily, I guess. In a little while we're going to go out, probably make another separate vid on that, on tuning it in the car and finding out which cylinder is giving you the problem. So many times you're out there on the sand dunes or in the pit area and these guys are revving their motors. Rev tuning, rev tuning. Yeah, it's not running right, I got a miss. And it's like they think they got a bad spark plug or something. They don't. They got a clogged idle jet, and it interferes with the transition from the idle circuit to the main circuit, and all you're doing is annoying everybody by revving it up all the time, and it's backfiring when they let off, and that's the problem. Another common problem that you'll run into, I don't know, common, but you'll get sand and dirt in this area of the accelerator pump, right up in here, and all of a sudden you step on the gas and it falls on its face. One of these, if you're running duals, it's not squirting. The linkage is moving when you move the throttle, but as we know, that spring is what applies the pressure to the diaphragm. That spring that's inside on the diaphragm, all that does is reload the accelerator pump cylinder with fuel. That's the only function of that, is to push the diaphragm back, and it draws fuel in from the float bowl. On a Dellorto, that point of drawing in is at the bottom of the float bowl, and usually it will bring garbage with it. If you have a little tiny bit of sediment, if you have water, many times on a Dellorto you'll take it apart and you'll see rust on that metal disc in the center of your accelerator pump diaphragm where the spring is contacted. It's like, why is this thing all rusty? Well, it's water from your fuel. You're getting condensation, bad gas, or, you know, and it's separating out of the system while it's sitting. You might get evaporation. You might live in a humid area. I don't know. But you also, on the Dellorto, can see the, I don't know if I want to open these up, but you can see where the butterfly sits I don't see any point in doing it really. And here is what I was showing you on the Dellorto. Now this is a real old set of Dellortos, and this is where you would hook your hose on, and then you would open this port with the right kind of screwdriver, which I probably don't have right handy. Then you'd open up the port. That would open the port to your synchronizing tool. I don't like to use that synchronizing tool. Let me show you what I use. I have two different kinds of synchronizing tools. And of course, I'm not prepared as usual. I found one. I'm looking for the second one. Hang on. I got it. I got them both. Okay. Two different types of synchronizing tools. Unison, whatever you want to call them. One of them sets down inside, and you turn the dial on it to go ahead and get it in a center position so that you can read it and compare cylinders. Now, what I was trying to explain is on a carburetor, you can actually go and you can synchronize this way. The butterflies should be on the same shaft, but if your shaft gets bent because you got a bunch of springs hanging off the side and you've actually bent the shaft, then you can use the tool, and if you're real anal, and you can open this other port, not the test port but another port, and get these two cylinders synchronized on one carburetor. And this works. This one's, you can see the manifold. That one's for a center mount setup. This one would be for a dual carburetor, dual throat setup on a dual port head. That's what you're seeing here, and it's the same type of a thing. So with the Unison, you just change the flow. You watch the little red bar, and I think we'll start one up and actually let you look at that. But I know the time is going by like crazy, and I've repeated myself on a lot of things. But if you found this helpful, go to my channel page. I've tried to make a playlist of the Weber Dellorto carburetors, and hope you find this helpful. And get out there in the garage and keep going on your projects. It ain't gonna happen sitting there by the computer. Although if the weather's bad, it's a good time to pass the time, huh? So, talk to you soon.